Hello and welcome back. We are doing a review. You can see my Assassin's Creed Syndicate Monopoly game in the background. Well worth buying, but that's not what we will be selling on here today. So before we get into our review of She-Hulk, we're going to do a word from our sponsor. In the spirit of total disclosure, not getting paid for this, and I'm related to the author. Toppled Cross by Bruce Call. If you're in the mood for a noir-style mystery, this is a good choice for you. It takes place down in South America, middle of a hurricane and a mystery. It's a pretty good noir-style story, and yes, highly recommended. So pick it up, buy it. You can find it on Amazon. So, yep, that's the word from our sponsor. Not getting paid for that, but, all the cool YouTubers are doing it, so I thought I would do it. So, today we are looking at She-Hulk, the sensational She-Hulk, I should say. So, I went on Twitter, just as a bit of an explanation, went on Twitter and listed 3 comics that I would do a review on next. This was one of them. I did not expect it to win. Actually, I thought it would come in dead last, and it came in first, beating out Rocket Raccoon and Battle World. So, yay. So, just in case you don't want to sit through my entire explanation and all this other stuff, the question probably is going to be, should I read this? The answer is yes. If you're basically going into, if you're planning on writing comics or just want to study comics and look at different things, this is definitely a must-read. I feel everyone who reads comics should read this at some point, who does it seriously like that, as, teaching, serious, whatever you want to call it. That having been said, if you're just looking for a fun book to read, also this one. It fits all topics and covers everything. So, as way of kind of explaining it to modern comic book readers, I'm going to use Deadpool as an example. So, picture your favorite fourth wall breaking Deadpool moment. Whether it's in the comics or the movies or video game, prose novel, whatever he appeared in, Spider-Man cartoon, whatever. Picture that moment, just your absolute favorite, what you consider to be the greatest fourth wall breaking Deadpool moment. Now imagine that spread out to a much bigger audience, or a much longer moment, I should say. Nearly 30 comics featuring a different character, but that level of quality of fourth wall breaking, that's what you would get with this John Byrne's The Return. It's incredibly well written. It's very well done and well-written storylines. But it's also, I think, pretty much the original fourth wall breaking storyline. There were a handful of fourth wall breaks in comics prior to this, in other mediums prior to this as well, but this is, I think John Byrne pushed it far beyond anything we've ever seen before. Modern Deadpool, is a direct descendant of his writing with it. So very, very good. I think previously you had essentially what amounts to Stan Lee cameos in comics, where the comics creator would occasionally appear in the background of a panel or a comic, and it would be really an in reference and so on. But John Byrne basically took a look at the character and said, well, what if there is a character who knows she's in a comic book? What, would she be able to do with that power? And we got She-Hulk. It's very, very fun, very original. And she did some really wild and crazy stuff. She would travel from one point to another in the comics by, moving between panels. She, at one point, twice actually, that I can think of, she actively tried to kill John Byrne, the writer, and oftentimes would discuss, what's allowed, what's not allowed in the comics code, and, make just these fun little references throughout all of it. I don't want to spoil any storylines, but I thought I'd show you some fun little moments. That's, You see all these lovely markers up top. Yellow is the fun moments. Green, She-Hulk green, of course, would be, for the controversy surrounding this book, which I'll get to in a second. So we'll open it up and see what we've got. Ah, yes, this panel on the right. We'll take a look at that, see how many of you get what this is referencing and making fun of. Yes, that is the Simpsons family, drawn in John Byrne's artistic style, and, pretty much a cameo. It's just a fun little, just shows you how crazy this comic can go and get to. So at this point, I want to do this panel too, because it returns to She-Hulk and says she's oblivious to these subplot events, and it's like, yes, and then she says, oh, I'm glad you cut away for that subplot setup. And it's like, hey, I said you were oblivious. What are you doing? So just kind of fun little moments. We'll skip ahead to this one. Oh, yes, this is one of my favorite little moments. Yeah, light's a little weird here. So in the middle of a fight with a zombie dragon, it's comic book, so that part isn't all that unusual. You can see her moving between panels. She's, instead of facing the zombie master guy, she moves to another panel and meets up with the keeper of the comics code to complain that she got dragon gunk on her hand and saying that's got to be a violation of the comics code, and pretty much told, nope, not a violation, you're going to have to solve this problem on your own. All right, let's see what we have next. Yes, so I have to flip around to show you a little bit of this. As you can see, in many of the comics, we have these cool black panels, which were referred to as, oh, my brain went dead, McFarlane, style black panels to make it look cool. So in this particular comic, it's the same style, but the black panels are mysteriously missing. No explanation, nothing, until you get to the final page, and you discovered that the comic itself had shifted during shipping, and all the panels had fallen to the last page. Just horrible when that happens. So this is both an in reference and a really fun thing. So She-Hulk returns home to visit her father during Christmas, only to discover a massive family reunion is taking place. At which point she loses her temper, claims she doesn't have that much family, pulls out the Marvel Universe Master Edition. That was basically a reference book that comic book writers use. You can see it pictured there, to keep up with continuity, and basically, reads it straight out to tell everyone that the writer is not sticking to the continuity correctly. All right. So, okay, I'm just going to show you the next few pages, see if they look familiar to any of you classic comic book fans. Battle Cry, Battle Why? Yep. Looking very familiar to you. Well, there's a reason. And the back of the book provided us with one of those reasons in this edition of it. It's straight up ripoff of Joe Lieberman. Is that right? Rob Liefeld. Sorry, I don't know why I cannot remember. I can't remember names very well. But yes, as you can see, straight up spoof and ripoff of it, and of course it ends with the book's editor coming out and chewing out John Byrne for, not drawing his own style, which John Byrne claims it's a fromage, but yeah. And John Byrne's punishment was that he was not allowed to use his own name for the rest of the book. So, really crazy. So I don't want to spoil this story because it's such a great story. It's one of the last storylines in it, but it comes with this guarantee. In this issue, your favorite villain, we guarantee it. This is the only book I've ever encountered that had a guarantee like that. I mean, you see something like that all the time. It's like your favorite villain returns, as part of it. This is the only one that actually lives up to that guarantee, that no matter who you are, no matter which comics you like, your favorite villain will be in this issue. Just maybe not the way you were expecting it. So, as you can see, wild and crazy, great read. I did want to, before moving on to things, cover the controversy. The modern day controversy of this book. This book was written, I feel old, more than 25 years ago, in the 90s. It's, as you can see, it's very risque. Now, you'll see these images done, pop up on Twitter and so on, and a lot of modern people will cite this as being a very sexist comic book about, exploitative, sexist, and so on. The thing about it is all these cheesecake moments and poses were done as a spoof off of comics that did that sort of thing. John Byrne, spoofed it and made fun of comics that did it, and She-Hulk herself was making fun of it. So we'll jump into the controversy here, just to give you an idea. This actually is one of my favorite She-Hulk images. The position, the pose, the beach ball. I'm doing, air quotes, but my hands are busy. Excuse me. The beach ball in her skin tone and her statement. It's not fair to accuse me of vanity. I just thrive on controversy. This entire thing is well known to people like me who were alive and around during the 90s. It's a spoof off of Demi Moore actually posed like this, naked, when she was pregnant. And it appeared in Vanity Fair. So, absolutely love this pose, but yeah, you can see why some people might think this is sexist. But let's move on to this next one. These covers didn't really help, but you can see she's having fun with it. And it's like, now don't get the wrong idea. I'm only doing this because it makes a good cover. It's, it is meant to spoof off a lot of comic books came out with covers like that, and it was very much a spoof off of them. Yes, well, we're going to get into this one, She-Mail. First and foremost, that's probably completely politically incorrect to have a mail page called She-Mail nowadays, but back then it wasn't a problem. But on this page, if you get this particular collection, this one, The Return, this page will be included on it, and it's led to one of the most misunderstood moments in She-Hulk history, and one of the most tweeted images from it as to show it was sexist. So they made a joke on the mail page where she basically said, yeah, we're going to have an entire comic that will be me naked jump roping. And as a result, we get this cover. Oh, no, wait, what? You demand it? You're kidding, right? 22 pages to fill of her jump roping naked. And we get these images of her jump roping and complaining about doing it for the next several pages. Just images of her filling up space to do that. And, of course, the editor comes in and says, nope, you can't do that. You're not allowed to do that. And in one of the shocking moments, she pulls away the jump rope to reveal, yep, she was in a bikini, and it's like, oh. Now, she complains that she's probably going to be in trouble with both the Legion of Decency and the Better Business Bureau for false advertising. So, yeah. Just funny controversy in my point. This one, less controversial, but I think this image here shows that it was really all meant in fun. Basically her saying, yep, the powers that be says I've been pushing it a little bit, so this is all you get. And clearly in the background, you can see it's the middle of summer, very hot. Even though the book came out in October, but either way, yes, that's, and this is the image I will use when people show the other image and say she's sexist. This is the image I will often respond with saying, yeah, it was a parody off of all of those things. And this is probably another misunderstood moment, but I feel it's also one of the funniest moments. So at the start of one of her comics, when they're doing the recap of the previous comic, suddenly they have her in these classic cheesecake poses. Oh, by the way, I have no idea why they're called cheesecake poses. I just picture, women doing these poses while selling cheesecake. I have no idea how accurate that is, and it's probably not accurate at all. But you can see several pages of her doing these cheesecake poses while they're doing a recap of what happened in the previous storyline. Until you get to this page, and down you see these little boxes there. Suddenly, the editor shows up again and starts chewing out John in those little boxes, and in the pink and then in the blue, we have John responding and basically saying, hey, no. The conversation basically boils down to, you're not doing, this is not good comics and so on. And John's response is, yes, it is. People do this in comics all the time. And she says, well, it's not the same thing. They at least pretend it has something to do with the storyline. You're just throwing it out there to do it, and, just to fill in the void so you don't have to draw as much. And finally ends with basically her saying that you have to go back to the straightforward storytelling right now, and the comic continues. So, like I said, this is a must read. The fourth wall breaking is probably the best I've ever seen, and I think certainly modern fourth wall breaking, Deadpool, Gwenpool, even non-comic things like Pinkie Pie from My Little Pony probably owe a lot to how he created and wrote and did it. If you want to read, write comics, do whatever, this is a must read. Find a copy and do it. This is The Return. It covers, I'm just going to get into the comic details. So John Byrne wrote She-Hulk from issues 1 through 8, and then he went off to do other projects, and for the next nearly 2 years, other writers jumped back in and did some of the stories. I can't speak to the quality of all those stories. The only ones of those that I'd read that were written by other authors was Steve Gerber storyline, which was pretty much a sequel to an old Howard the Duck storyline, and that one was pretty good, but not as good as John Byrne. So in issue number 31, John Byrne returned and wrote it until issue 50, which is why this is called The Return. It was, big deal. And yep, I would recommend reading the entire series. If you can't read the entire series, can only find this copy, pick up this copy. It's very good. It's surprising. The thing about fourth wall breaking and weirdness and oddities in all stories and in comic books is that for it to work, you have to have basically a good story behind it. You have to have good characters. You have to have natural. The fourth wall breaking has to feel like a natural part of the character. And John Byrne just hit it out of the ballpark with this series. It feels natural. It feels good. The stories themselves, while there's a lot of absurdity to them, basically if you took out the absurdity and the humor and, just made them heavy dramas, they would still work. And that's a sign of a good comedy story is one where you can remove the humor and it would work as a drama. And that it's very much the case with these stories. So yes, highly, highly recommended. You can, pick it up, check it out on Amazon. If you can't go on Amazon, go to your local library. Usually you can do some sort of loan or something like that and you can get it. So that's this review. Next review is going to be Rocket Raccoon, which came in second in my poll. So let me know what you think about this comic. Let me know what you think about my comments about this comic. Oh, that's hard to say. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.